Let's go to Oasis Designs. Here's what we do. This is a technique. And we'll tie these two together. Let's do that. Island Living Oasis. So I bring this a little bit closer so I'm not tripping you up with a wire. There we go. So you got your house. I'm no artist, but I'm really good at Pictionary. You got your house, you got your driveway, you got your patios, and you got your fence line. Basic yard, right? So here's the street going back this way. So your street counts. That's a fire break. Fires aren't going to burn on asphalt. Firefighters use that as a strategic line of defense. Your driveway is a strategic line of defense. There's nothing can grow on that. Your patio, the gutters are a real problem. You need to keep those clean. So for my house, I put gutter guards out. So nothing collects in my gutters. I mean, I've lived out in Skull Valley. It's where we raised our family. There is no firefighter that's going to come help you. You are on your own when you're out in the far reaches. Or by the time Central Yavapai finally makes it, your house is gone. So you're really thinking through what happens if the back field catches on fire. How am I going to keep my house safe? How am I going to get, what are my escape routes? You got to think in those terms if you're out in the country by yourself, because it is more independent living. That's why we lived out there. So here we had a volunteer fire department. I served on the board. I mean, I know all, you got to think, you got to help yourself first and then use the firefighting folks to help supplement your work first. This is hard for big city folks to realize. They think public services will take care of me. They'll try as best they can, but when 300 homes are being at risk, you've got to be strategic. So islands are the fence line. Watch that one too, because fence is basically, especially a cedar fence, is basically a matchstick. A lot of homes will go down because the fence caught on fire. They're Firewise, then the fence starts burning, finally reaches the house, catches the gutters on fire, then it's all over. So you got to think in terms of that too. So I wouldn't plant a whole lot of stuff that's flammable right on my cedar fence. Chain link and some of the other, don't worry about it, but I wouldn't have things growing in there that can be crusty, has a lot of buildup, that kind of stuff. So think in terms of fire. How is a fire going to get to me? It's going to get to me by the canopies catching on fire and it just rolls over you. It's going to catch, ash is going to get into your gutters, catches stuff from the gutters that will go up, or the fences will go up, and it just slowly burns to your house and catches the house on fire. That's how your house will go up in flames. Bottom line. How do we keep the flames on the ground so the firefighters can fight it? That's what we're trying to help them with. If you've got a ponderosa pine right here, pinyon pine, a juniper or something, technically by the fire code, they should be cut down and cleared because they're within that fire zone. I've been on site with firefighters looking to see if this property is Firewise. I can tell you how the firefighters think of it. They're okay with that. Can I say that online? You folks tuning in, it's okay. You're a firefighter. Take a deep breath. I know how you think. What they're going to do is, technically the law says you got to cut it down. But really what they'll do is they'll go, the fire's coming. It's in the canopies. We've got to save this home. It's cleared out. We've got islands. What they'll do is they'll just cut it and drop that tree down to the ground into the oncoming fire so they keep that flame on the ground. If you make it easy for them to cut it down and drop it, they can now protect your house. It's just a quick chainsaw, vroom, and it's gone. So I kind of take that middle ground. I'm not hardcore because I've been to some of your houses. They're beautiful because you've got trees pretty close. I would say keep those. Just don't have a whole bunch of stuff underneath this where it makes it impossible for the firefighters to get in and do their job. Or you create a ladder fuel. Again, flames come across. Oh, what did I just do? Flames come across the weeds. Okay, so flames coming up. Then it gets the shrubs. Then it catches the trees. And all of a sudden you go a foot-high flame goes to 10 foot goes to 50-foot flame, just like that. And there's no help. Once it gets in the canopy, all you can do is run. That's all you can do. Pray it doesn't get too windy and overtake you. So you got to just get out of there at that point. So keep it down on the ground. Okay, so that's my take on, and I've preached that at other places. Highland Pines, I just taught this same class up there, and I said, listen folks, you're in the pines. If you go by the code, there will be no pine trees left up here. That's harsh, that's why you bought up there. Keep some of them, just keep it cleared out. Don't let a bunch of manzanitas, junipers, pine, don't plant this directly underneath your ponderosa pine. That's asking for disaster. Plant things like, what else could I, what's kind of like that? That cactus is going to get me. We'll go over that in a second. Yeah.
Ken, I don't know if you need to answer it now, but maybe towards the end, maybe talk about like last year's Goodwin fire and then the Viewpoint fire that just happened about a month ago.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So talking those in regards to what?
Just like I don't know if you know how they started, but like, you know, what happened.
Sure.
And like the Viewpoint went right up to like homes and stuff
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
in fact, quite a few pine trees were lost. In fact, I ran out of Austrian pines because they were all burned at the edge because the pine trees, one ash ember went in and just burned them up. They saved the house, but lost the landscape basically. So we can go over that at the end maybe. So I'm not the expert on that, how the fires start. I just know how to defend what burns, what doesn't. Yeah.
You can also include those trees as part of your defensible space ring around the house.
That's
which
good.
means you go out 30 feet beyond the tree.
Yeah, that's good. Yes, that's the island.
Yeah.
So we'll go back to island. So when you're landscaping, we do what's called the Oasis effect. You've got your high water, high need, high garden stuff. The containers, the raised beds, close. Not with the pines, not with the things that burn, but these are things like your vegetable gardens. That's very fire wise. A tomato plant's got a tremendous amount of water in it. If you think in terms of camping, if you've ever been camping, at night, you've got your fire that you're doing. You take some fresh branches and you throw them in there. If there's pine needles, you know, they burn just like that. They burn right up. If you take a cottonwood or willows, some things that are real watery, those are the ones you put on. They smoke and they're messy. They just, all the smoke comes up. They don't really burn. They kind of smolder. They're the ones at the end of the day, the log is still sitting in there, still smoldering. Those are the kind of plants you want closer to the house. Further away from the house, you want to put those things that burn up really quick in that fire. Think in terms of camping fires, and it'll really help you wrap your brain around what should I have close, what should I have further out, okay? In between, as you're planting, so let's say you've got a patio, and you want to highlight, let's say you got a vista over here, Thumb Butte, or Granite Mountain over here, or San Francisco Peaks, you want to highlight that. So usually the landscape design, what we'll do is we'll take some trees and frame that vista. We'll actually think in terms of interior design. We'll go, let's take some aspens right here, and we'll just draw the eye so it sees that peak. We don't want to put it right in front or it'll obliterate our vision, but you can actually increase the vista value by highlighting it or framing that with certain kinds of plants. A tall shrub like a red-tipped photinia, something that's out here, you can almost use anything you want. 2 spruce trees. This spruce here is, if people don't know what it's called, they go, the one that looks like a Christmas tree, it's this one, okay? They're famous up here. They do really well. We've got a mountain called Spruce Mountain. It does really well. But this is a torch. It will go up in flames in a heartbeat. So you don't put this next to the house, you put it out there, away from the house, at the edge of the property lines, so you can enjoy it and look better there. Then you use it to frame your vistas. Or that neighbor just bought that beautiful Class A motorhome, and they're parking it right next to your back patio. You can use it to block that construction pile that the contractor has left over, just whatever that is you've got in your situation. You can use it out there. And then what you do is when you're done, you plant some little shrubs. Say whatever you want. You're creating islands, little island gardens. Then you want to leave a space in between this island. Usually it's a rock lawn, so rock spaces. So we use a lot of rock here, right? That's good. That's Firewise. Or a lawn. The best thing you could have, physical lawn, like not synthetic. That's not Firewise. An actual grass lawn that you have to hydrate. That will stop fire in a heartbeat. So in Skull Valley, we just had grass lawns all around the house because I had young kids who were playing soccer and baseball, and families and lawns go together, and then it made it Firewise just had some more mowing. Plus we had unlimited water because the water right up Kirkland Creek. So we had 3-inch wells at 95 gallons per minute. It was huge. So we could afford to do that. Rock lawn is what most of us are going to use. You need to have a space before you go to your next planting. Over here with different things. Think in terms of, I'm going to create garden islands around the landscape, and I'm going to give spacing in between that. It doesn't have to be rock. You could simply keep it, I don't like rock. I have no rock in my yard, except for a dry creek bed. I like shredded cedar. I like the look of organic, of mulches. I use mulches, that's fine. Mulch will burn, but I keep it low and I keep the weeds at bay, so the firefighters can easily get in there and fight. If an ember goes in here, they can easily get in and fight that fire, and not have to worry about, is this going to catch on fire and catch them off guard. So help them maneuver through your landscape so they can fight that fire. Okay, yes?
And will the mulch also help keep the water in?
Keeps the moisture in, yeah. And I'm rain harvesting, so I've got passive rain harvest, so I'm loading up the ground with moisture, then I use the mulch to keep the soil from sunburning so it cracks and becomes dry and crusty. Main thing is I keep the weeds away.
Can I ask you one other question? You keep talking about aspen. We have a lot of aspen. Will aspen grow in Phoenix? Or,
No.
No.
No, I'm afraid not.
You're right. My daughter said no. And
Yes, it
I'm
would,
not-
through the winter, and then it will die in the summer, so aspen will not grow in Phoenix. Yeah, you should, as a gift, and then they're probably better choices.
Thank you.
So think in terms of islands, and then within those islands, think in terms of ladder fuels. So don't put something that burns like crazy right underneath the pine tree, or the cypress, or the cedars, or some of these other things that burn. Use things that aren't as flammable in those gardens. You can blend the two things together, but for my California customers, going all evergreen may not be the best choice and keep it Firewise. That's why they want it to bloom all the time. They're thinking Southern Cal or Palm Springs, they want it evergreen all the time, but here we have 4 seasons. You want to think in terms of, I want some perennials that come back every year, but then they die back to the ground, so I have less fuel to burn in that island. And whatever you do, don't put something that burns really fast, like Arizona cypress. This is famous, probably a #1 seller as far as evergreens go, for privacy screens, for wind breaks. This one grows really fast, 20 feet high, 12 feet wide, thick. And it's a native. Get it to size, cut it off of all care, it goes by itself. But you don't want this right by your house. It could be at a line. Let's say you've got a neighbor who's right on top of you, and you want to plant Arizona cypress, a whole row of them. That's fine. The whole back fence is nothing but Arizona cypress. That's okay. Then think island. I want to give some space around that where I've got some rock lawn in between me and those so the firefighters can get in there. And if one of them does go out, they can cut it down real quick and drop that thing to the ground and get that fire on the ground so they can clear things out. So it's a lot of chainsaw, hoeing, clearing up the ground so we keep the ground, we keep the flame from spreading through your landscape or through the neighborhood basically. Okay, so this is a great one. Just use it out there and give some space, or island landscaping.
Do you also suggest with your spruce, they're beautiful, they go right down to the ground.
They do.
Do you suggest taking some of those branches?
Good question. So her thought is, tell me if I'm going to trip and fall. So her question was, spruce, they look really good because there's big swooping branches, this magnificent tree, central leader, swooping branches coming off of that and they go right to the ground. Should we prune those up to keep them off the ground? I think they look like Dr. Seuss, like funky little lollipop trees. When you do that, I don't think it looks natural. What I do for my own trees like that, I'll prune the bottom branch off just enough so that I can rake and clean up underneath it. But then I keep the branches from a distance. It looks like the branches go right to the ground because I think that's the best look.
Yeah.
So I'm not thinking fire. In that respect, I'm thinking cleanup for me, weed control, which is part of this whole sequence. Keeping it safe is keeping it cleaned and that kind of stuff. And I find my quail like to nest, roost underneath that. If I put them too high, they leave. So there's some
Yeah, no,
balance with
I'm
this.
in a balance, absolutely.
Yeah.
Maybe one or two possibly,
Sure.
depending upon how it droops, because, and how mature you
What I would do is, I would think in islands, I would plant my spruce, and I wouldn't think flames coming up, I wouldn't plant a whole bunch of grass right next to it where it could light it up, but then I would isolate it with some rock lawn or something, a space, in case that fire does creep up. Because if a flame actually comes up, a foot-long flame comes up with weeds, it will light this thing up.
Yeah.
And it'll be a 50-foot flame, and it'll be magnificent. And your house will be gone, just like that. So use some common sense like that. So island, does that make sense? Ladder fuels, I can go deep into that. Just think in terms of, will this 3 foot the height? So 3 times. So if you get a little thing, the flame will be this high. If it's a big thing, it'll be to the roof. Think in terms of 3 times the height, that'll really help you. Think in terms of ladder fuels and what to mix and blend, okay? If you're in the thick of it, and you're just surrounded by a whole bunch of pine trees, I would say don't plant any of this stuff. You don't need any more. You have enough. Plant some of the Firewise plants, and we'll go over that in just a second, okay? So just commit to islands of pretty foo-foo, high moisture kind of stuff. Put your drip system up to that. Okay.